We're live on Spreaker.com, Truth Radio, and Blog Talk Radio. Today, I have a kind of interesting show. John won't be on until later, probably, if he does have time. But I'm going to talk about something that just happened. And this week, we had a situation over there in Washington where we had another gentleman from the military just pull out a gun and start shooting people. Now, this is on the heels of the controversial issue of Fort Hood. We just had the sentencing of the gentleman with Fort Hood. He was incarcerated for shooting a large number of individuals. In that particular case, I guess it was in the numbers of 40 people that were shot by a psychiatrist that was over and involved with the issue of post-traumatic stress disorder. And now we have a new shooter out of Washington in the Navy. And they said that they felt that this place was secure. But was it? Was it secure? And what could cause a man to go off where he killed 13 individuals? Now, I just heard about this, because I, had been off sick, but caught the edge of it, and I'm going to read what the report is I see here. A civilian contractor and a military veteran with a valid base entry pass went on a shooting rampage at a U.S. Naval complex building on Monday, killing 12 people before being shot to death himself, authorities said. Aaron Alex, 34, a contractor from Fort Worth, was identified by officers as a shooter who was killed in a gun battle with police responding to the morning attack. The FBI said later that day, on Monday, that Aaron had a valid pass and security clearance to enter the Navy Yard as a civilian contractor. Valerie Perave, assistant director in charge of the FBI Washington field office, said the shooter had a legitimate access to the Navy Yard. Interesting, isn't it? It says that despite the efforts to stop the shooter, the shooting gripped the Capitol in a tense day-long drama just blocks from the Capitol itself. Hours after reporting the death of this young man, the city officials said they had not ruled out the possibility of another shooter involved. Isn't that interesting? In all these cases, they say that there was possibly another shooter. But law enforcement officers came back and basically confided that it was only one gunman. And the young man don't know what caused him to go off. It said at least 3 people, including one police officer, suffered non-fatal gunshot wounds inside Building 197 of the Navy Sea Systems Command headquarters, hospital officials said that all 3 were expected to recover from their wounds. Hundreds of workers in the Navy complex were forced to hide in their offices or flee for safety while the gunshots echoed from gunmen firing high-powered semi-automatic weapons into the cafeteria and other parts of the building. A mile or so away from the Capitol, the Senate temporarily locked down all of its offices and buildings. The state representative was not in session and did not suspend office functions. President Obama said he was mourning yet another mass shooting and ordered flags down in government buildings. This is a horrific tragedy that came from the White House. It says that reportedly the shooter drove to the Navy complex with the weapon early on Monday and cleared security checkpoints before parking in the parking lot on the property. Asked the officer, who was not authorized to comment publicly, after leaving his car, it is believed that the shooter was involved in an allegation in which he opened fire, killing one or two possible people. The officer said that then Alex, that's his last name, then entered the building and went to the third and fourth floors, where much of the assault had been carried out. He said that the shooter did not appear to have any escape plan, and it was wasn't clear whether he targeted a specific person. They said the shooter did not appear to be related to terror at all. They ruled that out. It said that the victims were civilians, and they were 46 to 73 years of age. Police named 7 of the killed victims: Michael Arnold, 59; Sylvia Frazier, 53; Kathy Gray, 62; John Roger Johnson, 73, and no other ones were listed. Additional victims were identified in the Washington Post. And anyway, what would cause this man to go off? Now, let's see what else it says here. Let's go down a little bit. With the city on the edge, the Secret Service arrested a man for tossing a firecracker over the White House fence on Monday. The Secret Service locked down the White House when the incident happened, fearing the pops could have been gunshots. It says Gary Humes, a program manager with the Navy, was entering the building when the shooting was taking place around 8:20 in the morning, when he was met by people fleeing and warning of the shooter inside. He and more than 100 ran to the building across the street, while others ran into the museum nearby. I decided to go to work a little late that morning, he said. Oh my God, it could have been me. So now, what caused this young man, this one is African American, to go off and start shooting people? Now, I have a listener, and I'm going to ask her to come up. Caller on 480. Welcome to the Deanne Burley Show. And if you could give your first name.
Hi, Deanne. How you been?
Okay.
Well, I don't, it was a shocker when I got off work and I saw what was going on, and I don't know. I was thinking of the Christopher Dorner and the so-called manifesto that he put out, and then this man is claimed to be a peaceful man, a Buddhist, and learning other languages, conversing with other cultures. Everything seemed to be such a peaceful demeanor. So I don't know if it's...
Oh, this gentleman was a Buddhist? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they said he was studying Buddhist at a local Buddhist temple.
Huh, interesting. Well, that's really interesting, because Buddhists usually have control of themselves. Now, look at the pattern of what's going on here. We have Donner, that's in California, and he was also in the military. He was also shellback. We had also the situation of Fort Hood with the psychiatrist that was supposed to be there to help people with post-traumatic stress disorder that were returning military men, with no information of him ever being involved with any type of guns and arms. He goes off and shoots a bunch of people, and he refuses to talk, by the way, now. And now we have this young man. Now, I had talked to a friend of mine who's getting ready to air on another program, and I'm not going to go over her analysis, but it's kind of similar to what I'm thinking in a way. Her name is Gwendolyn Lindsay Jackson, and she does a lot for Fox Network. She's a a forensic analyst of these types of things. She's an attorney and had been formerly in the military. And do you think that this could be a situation of stress, or could it be a situation of people of color being harassed so bad in the military they're just going off? Because you got to look at who was involved. We got this gentleman, African American. We had the other gentleman that was Islamic. Both of them were claiming that there was some type of racial disparity within. And then you had the other situation with Dahmer that was in California, former military, was with the LA police. And he was talking too about, what was going on and complaining to fellow officers. What do you think? Do you think it has to do with post-traumatic stress disorder? Do you think it's, harassment based on race? Or do you think that it's mind control? What is your idea on this?
Well, is he really the one that was shooting at the people? Are we for sure about that?
Well, they claim that now in each one of these cases, they say that there's another shooter. We have no idea.
Yeah.
We have no information, but who knows?
I'll just run with the assumption that what they're saying is true, just for, giggle's sake. All right, so if that's what it is, then, it's definitely a possibility that it was harassment and within the military, because let's just keep it real. This country has not dealt with the racism problem when it comes to African Americans, especially African American men that have deemed themselves very worthy in society, very intelligent, very fit worthy, and just outclassed so many people on different levels. He probably was being harassed. I mean, he knew different languages. He was a very capable individual. And then on the other end, the military has been conducting experiments on their own soldiers when it comes to mind control and triggering and things like that. So, I mean, at this point, anything is a possibility, Deanne.
Well, it's interesting, too. They said that he was going to a Buddhist temple in Fort Worth, and he had joined an occasion to Thai immigrants in meditation, which doesn't seem somebody that would be, focused on going off like that. But then again, what did he experience before when he was in the military? He was a contractor now, but he had been formerly in the military. So now let's go back to the case of Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, many people don't even talk about Jeffrey Dahmer was in the military. And there was individuals I knew that had told me that he was involved in a specialized program that they were using certain drugs that enhance him as, someone to kill in the military. So I'm not saying that that was the main reason, because they said he was killing beforehand, but we don't know if that's true or not. But there was information I got directly from people that were in the military that Dahmer was a program killer. So now, is this a program kill? And then we have to look at what happened down there with the boys down there in Georgia. What's his name? Wayne, I forgot his name, but he was supposed to have killed those people down in Atlanta, those young boys. He was also military trained. So what's going on? Is it programming, or is it a situation that somebody says something to them and they go off?
The thing is that all of this is unraveling when it comes to the control that the establishment has over the people. So it could be just their own program popping back on them, snapping back on them, and that's the way I would rather lean towards than just a peaceful man all of a sudden, deciding he was going to go commando on everybody, and by what I saw, he is a contractor, but he was not a violent paid contractor. He was more of a logistic person, an information person. He dealt with paperwork and things like that. He wasn't on the ground shooting and involved with covert activities by just a little information that's out there.
Well, that's the same case with the gentleman in Fort Hood. He was not military trained in gunfighting. He was only trained as a psychiatrist. He went to, interesting enough, Virginia Tech, and graduated from there, and dealt with psychology and psychiatric issues with people. Now, why would he, of all people, snap and not talk?
Yeah. Maybe, and another good possibility is somebody could have slipped him something.
That
That he wasn't doing something willingly. He just ended up with some kind of mind-altering drugs in his system that made those things happen.
well,
Under suggestion.
well, what state are you in? Are you in uh,
I'm in Arizona.
Arizona? Now, have you ran into any military men, and have you talked to any of them returning from this war that we had, in Iraq?
I have talked to one person that was a very young man that was a veteran, and he was highly disturbed.
Was he disturbed about what he saw?
Very paranoid. Yes. He had pictures on his phone showing me about the marijuana plants and heroin plants growing in Afghanistan, and he has told me some stories about that. And he was a very paranoid individual.
Well, what about the marijuana? Wait.
And he was also getting psychiatric help here with medications, that's prescribed to people that are in that condition. And he was 27.
Is 27 years old, and he saw these plants being grown in Afghanistan. Did he tell what was going on with that, or they had to guard them, or what was going on?
Yeah, he just basically said what they're over there for is to make sure that the crops aren't messed with and production isn't stopped. Well, at least what his division was doing, or however they break it down in the military. But that's basically what they were there for in that area where he was at.
So he felt that that there wasn't any situation that would count for, us being frightened of somebody attacking us or terrorism out of Afghanistan. It was more or less about protecting the drugs there, the manufacturing of drugs, let's say.
Yeah, making sure that everything flowed through. They were packing them on military planes. He said that they were transporting those things with equipment between the military. Basically it was the straight out drug, industry that was going on that they were involved in and protecting. That's how he felt about it. And he, so with this young man that with the shooting recently, maybe he saw something that he wasn't comfortable with either, and was against his morals, and and what he witnessed, and because there's all kinds of things that are going on out there: the human trafficking, the organ trafficking, and the drug trafficking, and the washing of the money, and the what I mean, and the usurping government. And maybe he saw something he didn't like, and he decided to take things in his own hands. Being a Buddhist, maybe he felt like this is his way of showing judgment. I don't know. I'm just being speculative, but.
Well, in the Buddhist practice, they do not allow for killing or murdering or anything like that. That's like the lower realms. And somebody that's under those teachings, I don't know how far in advance he got into it, but that is not what they teach. So the thing is that I'm looking at a situation now. Let's look at this thing. Now, marijuana. Now, marijuana is being legalized in Illinois and various other states. Legalized meaning that it's allowed to be sold on the street, but if you are found with it, they can ticket you, but you won't go to jail. Now, that's in the city of Chicago, and they're trying to legalize it all over the place. But now, marijuana is a fungus, right? And based on what I've been reading about this, is it a possibility that these drugs that they're bringing in might have something in it that's causing people to go off? Now, i.e., there's an article that a lot of people didn't even know anything about, but have you heard of the zombie fungus?
I'm sorry, Regina, I'm traveling, and can you please repeat that question?
Yeah, had you heard of the zombie fungus?
Actually, I think I might have heard something about that, but I didn't know what it was called. Um, but word is on the street that you have to be careful with the kind of marijuana you smoke anyway, because some of them will make you highly violent, and some of them will just make you, sleepy and just have the munchies. So you've got to be careful what you're smoking out there.
Yeah,
But I
well,
haven't heard anything about specifically about a zombie fungus.
yeah, well, this is zombie fungus, and the weird thing is, in the beginning, they were talking about how it affected ants. The ants would come in contact with it, and it was from Brazil, but zombie the stuff is supposed to cause mind control. Now, again, why are they bringing in marijuana? Isn't that a controlled substance and something that's illegal? Why are we, doing that with our military? I'm not saying that this man was doing something about it, but I'm just saying it's extremely strange that we have our whole military force over there. And I've heard other reports that we're guarding drugs. Why?
Maybe because they're biologically enhanced and altered to do a certain effect. Maybe that's why they're finally saying, okay, now that we've figured out the science and the genes of this, we're going to go ahead and put it back up, put it on the street legally. But little do they know it's not a natural form. It's something that's been altered, like what you just said about the fungus. Maybe that was enhanced in it, you know.
Well, I'm going to read this one article. I think John, my co host, is back here yet, but I want to read this article real quick from Wired. It states on danger rum. And this is an article written called Vets Sue CIA Over Mind Control Tests. And this is what's the date of this? This is from 2009, but it's very interesting. They have this. For 2 decades or more during the Cold War, the CIA and military alleged piled up the unwilling witting with acid, weed, and dozens of uh, psycho active drugs and a series of zany and sometimes dangerous mind control experiments. Now, the Vietnam Veterans of America are suing the agency at the Pentagon for perceived abuse suffering under what they call MK Ultra and other projects. 6 veterans are suffering from all kinds of ailments tied to the diabolical and secret testing program, according to the statement from the veterans' lawyers passed on by Spy Talk's Jeff Stein. The experiments allegedly included the use of troops to test nerve gas, psychochemicals, and other toxic chemicals and biological substances, and insertions of uh, steptical implants in the brain of subjects. Mind control experiments that went awry, leaving many civilians and military subjects with permanent disabilities. Subjects were tested without their consent, the veterans organization said, and when the trials were over, the government failed to provide health care or compensation. Now, there is a book published by a former military psychiatrist, James Ketchum, described as an army a project separate from the CIA's effort that took place in Inglewood Arsenal in Maryland. There he saw tests on subjects carried on controversial with various people that lasted 2 to 3 days. Now, again, this was from 2009. Now, could these drugs be the same type of thing they're using right now? I'm just get curious, and I'm going to see if my co-host is here. John, are you there? Can you hear me? Hi, John. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. So, what do you think about this situation with the killer in Washington? We're talking to one of the callers. John, are you there?
I'm here. You hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. Again, we're having black ops, in my opinion. You don't have a person that has like class 3 clearance, been working around there, and all of a sudden just, off the wall start shooting everybody. We have some things taking place. I think we have truth starting to come out where some people are starting to measure themselves, as Snowden did, and as that other private did that was in the FSA, letting out some information that would, expose terrorism within. Where does somebody choose to take somebody else? Where does it put in this line control? We're seeing people all over the world trying to blow up everybody. We're seeing countries, all of a sudden, the whole country's fighting against itself, destroying infrastructure. These are on purpose to destroy the world. They want 500 million population. They're already underground. They're going to have the rest of us destroy ourselves and create starvation. Which will help achieve the population that they want. So they're setting up situations of terror, and we got to have regulations just like 9/11. All of a sudden, we didn't need any other Patriot Act for any other war. We just needed to go to war. And all of a sudden, we have all these regulations on us. It's like the H.R. Bill 658, where they put 30,000 drones onto us, and they're trying to make them like they're good items and all this. First off, why would you spend any money when you have no money, and you can Google Earth, and for nothing, you can look all over the world for greatly.
That's right.
So why would we want to spend money on these drones? Because they carry weapons. They don't do as good a job as the satellites would do, but they carry weapons. So also now we can be the Boston bomber through the military in the name of defense, and challenge our culture, challenge our state. And again, as they're destroying the idea that our leaders are all pedophiles and perverts and cheaters on their wives, and they're doing all this all across the board, right from the president right on down. And these guys that are even, look at Weiner there. He's posed as a derelict, got to show himself, and he's running for office again, and they're letting him. This is just part of the destruction of our moral being, of what we don't even understand, that we shouldn't even be talking to these people, that morally are destructive, and yet, we've let them run for candidacy again. Anyhow, again, as they're wanting to bring in the New World Order, they want to destroy what we look like, so they're putting in pedophiles and everything else around, and gays, and they're promoting all this strange stuff. It'll help destroy the nation. I hope we turn it around. George Washington's prediction that we'd be 600 years strong before it was converted to something else, I hope it's very true, and that means we're going to beat this battle. But I wish we should get a hold of that soldier that killed, or the officer that killed all his friends there at the Washington. Get a hold of his mother and express this information to her, to let her know that she just doesn't have to apologize. That maybe she would be able to point some things out and say, yeah, that would be an MK Ultra situation. I just read about it, and that fits the mold.
No, I just got a article from somebody that is a friend of my broadcast that's been on the show, and he sent me this. It says, "This is what happened at the Navy Yard. The cover-up is trying to prevent Obama from making an announcement, performed another D.C. sniper maneuver using microwaves to guide and control Aaron Alex." Here's the actual police report from Newport News. When Aaron first reported he was being targeted. Now, evidently, this guy said he was targeted and stalked. That's what I'm finding out here. It says that, I'm looking at the report, this guy sent me the actual copy. It says, Newark Police Department, narrative for Officer Seth P. Mosley, page 1, reference number 13-17827-OF, Mosley number 364. On August 7, 2013, I was assigned to a car. 1. At about 06:23 hours, Officer Cormley and I were dispatched to the Marriott Hotel, room 405, for a harassment report. I responded from City Yard. On arrival, we met with, and this was Aaron's name that was scratched out, stated that he is a naval contractor and that he travels often. And it says scratched out again, went on to explain that while getting onto his flight from Virginia to Rhode Island, he got into a verbal altercation with an unknown party at the airport. And the same guy, Alex, believes that the individual that he got into the argument with had sent 3 people to follow him